Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. Today, I'm going to tell you what wolves have to do with sin. If that sounds a bit strange, stay tuned. Right, so what is this insane person doing over here telling us about wolves and sin? Well, what I'm referring to is a common piece of Facebook philosophy, such as it is, where there's a story, it's usually on this backdrop of like some ancient Indian, person, feathers and everything, and you're looking, into the distance, very wise, telling the story about, and the story goes that within every human being, there are two wolves. One is a wolf of darkness and another is a wolf of light. And they're both battling each other. And the question is, which wolf survives? Right? And the answer is the one that you feed. So the idea is, obviously, that the one that you feed becomes stronger and is then able to defeat then the one that is then starved. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of Christians will look at this and they'll be like, "Oh, very good, very good. That's a good lesson. Share." And share all over the place. Looks so wonderful. Ancient Indian wisdom. All right. You know what people are like today, right? This noble savage idea that people have, And so what does Christianity have to say about this? Well, it disagrees, actually. And in order to talk about that, I'm going to have to go to the book of Romans, written by the Apostle Paul, and Romans 7, and I'm starting at verse 14, right, which says the following: "For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin." So here he's making, this is actually, it's not very easy to understand, Paul, and what I'm about to explain, it's not exhaustive. There's other things. So, I'm not creating doctrine here, but I want people to think about things, because we see, Facebook philosophy and we just accept it point blank. And it's like, no one ever really digs more into these things. Does this really hold water? "For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin." So when he's talking about the law, he's talking about the moral law, right? Morality is a spiritual thing, right? So this is why Christians have a problem with a lot of what do you call these people that they think they can derive, like your evolutionary psychologists that are trying to figure out a moral basis for an objective basis for morality and ethics in evolution. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. A failing experiment for the secular person and the naturalist, and so not going to happen. And it's not like we haven't been trying for like 100 years, right? Not going to happen. And even before that, other people have tried. It's never been successful. But I am carnal, sold under sin. So as a human being, we have two parts to ourselves, right? We've got our spiritual side and we've got our physical side, the physical body. So when it's talking about carnal, it's not just some abstract thing. You are a physical being, and this physical body wants X, Y, and Z. Now, here's the interesting thing. The whole evolutionary psychology thing, it can explain why the body wants to do what it wants to do. That's the very interesting thing. Well, because it's trying to explain things in a natural way. And even though much of the underlying premises are, as far as a Christian is concerned, are incorrect, one of the things they actually do quite well is show why the physical body why the physical, carnal, lower animalistic parts of the human being want to do these horrible things, right? The natural man, the caveman, the barbarian, right? And so then he goes on to say, because here's the human paradox. Verse 15, Romans 7, verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that I do not. But what I hate, that I do. Okay, so we have this constant war inside ourselves, which is like the proverb sort of thing on Facebook, right? You've got these two wolves, the good and the bad, fighting in you, right? So we all know it's like New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym and go and be fit and stop being fat and lazy, basically. Right? Well, or I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to stop eating so much chocolate, or whatever. And that lasts all of 5 minutes, right? So even if we put away, right, for those of you who don't want spirituality and the Bible, because that's all religion and religion's evil, it's like even by your own personal standards, you constantly fail at following through with what you know to be right, even by your own standards. All right? It's like, how many of you have ever actually stuck to a New Year's resolution? Like, ever. Right? It's like people don't. It's a joke, right? It's everyone expects that New Year's it is known, right? It's like it is known, right? You make New Year's resolutions and no one keeps them ever. Okay? So, and any person, and I've met the odd recalcitrant imbecile or psychopath that would disagree with this. Is like, oh, I've never ever violated my own principles. It's like rubbish. Just think, even your own principles, whether they're based in anything religious or not, even by your own standards, you are constantly battling to do what even yourself believe to be as good and true. Right? Every single one of us can look back and be like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I acted against my better judgment. We can all. So we all know, whether you're religious or not, we all have this battle inside of us. So Paul here is speaking about something that's just, it's human. It's in all of us. So we constantly do what we hate and what we would prefer not. And, and the problem is we actually enjoy it, right? We enjoy doing it. And then he goes on to verse 16. He says, if then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. So here's the interesting thing, right? People deny that there's an objective good, that there's objective moral values and duties, right? This is the general secular person. They completely deny that. But that is a self-contradictory philosophy, because the fact that even by your own standards, that you would say that there is such thing as better or worse, even if you want to avoid the religious words good and evil, the fact you cannot make a value judgment if nothing is better and nothing is worse than something else. All value judgments are made relativistically, in the sense that this compared to that, this is better than that. So the mere fact that you make such a judgment ever at all, regardless of what your standard is, means that deep down inside, even though philosophically you incoherently and in self-contradiction deny it, the fact of the matter is you live your whole life as if that is true, that such a thing as better and such a thing as worse, that good and evil exist, even if you deny it. It's what people call a performative contradiction. These people that go around and they're saying that there's no such thing really as good and evil, or right and wrong. The fact of the matter is they live their lives in every second of the day as if that is true, right? So it's a performative contradiction. You say one thing, but you do something else. And you just see that everywhere, right? Everywhere, all the time. And it's the most stupid philosophy, really, this relativistic rubbish. And so going on to verse 17 is like, then, so if then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. So, performative contradiction is, so you basically admit that these objective morals and duties do exist, and the fact that you acknowledge that they exist, and that you performative contradiction, whether you like it or not, you are acknowledging that this is good, that X and Y and Z is better than A, B, and C. Now then, it is no more that I do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. Now here's the crux of the matter. But sin that dwelleth in me. So this dark wolf, is it in you, or is it something else? For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, my body, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present within me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. So I have the will. It's like the mind is willing, but the flesh is weak, kind of thing. So what he's basically saying here is that this philosophy that there's a wolf of light and a wolf of dark in every single human being is actually false. There is only a dark wolf. There is no light wolf. There is no wolf of light. Okay? There's only a dark wolf. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil that I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. So as far as Christianity is concerned, there is only a dark wolf. That is it. There is no light wolf inside you that's fighting against this dark wolf. There is nothing within your physical nature that wants to be decent. Right? If you refer back to, those of you that are interested, refer back to my meditation on how we should view the Ten Commandments. And and even modern psychology and all of the research actually bears this out. Our default position is to behave like an animal, basically, right? You're in the game for yourself. It's self-interest, it's nature read in tooth and claw, right? The default, if you don't have discipline, if you don't have this objective good, and you constantly strive towards that, your default is stupidity and violence, essentially. So the world likes to believe the yin-yang concept, where there's a little bit of good in you and a little bit of bad in you. Christians would say, no, there's only dark, right? Because that's the fall of mankind. We lost that which was good. We lost it. It's gone. So the only thing that remains is a wolf of darkness. That's it. And our job is to kill it. Well, then that means we die. So how do we deal with this? That is why in Christianity we affirm that we talk about Christ in us. The thing that makes us, the only reason why we as human beings want to do any good at all, and why we have this almost an outside sense of ourselves, where we can see ourselves sometimes. It's like, what are you doing? You know this is wrong. And we've all had that, okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you just have no self-awareness at all, and that probably makes you quite dangerous, and you better get on it. And Christianity would say, well, we have this sense, and that sense it's a divine thing that is telling you, hey, this is not right. And part of Christian eschatology was our future expectations, that in the Bible talks about things to come, not only things that have passed, but things that are to come, prophetic things. It says that there will come a time, and you find this in Revelation, where God will say, right, let the good continue to be good, and they will sin no more, and let the evil continue. And God's going to completely remove his influence and the restraint, because in Christian philosophy, at the moment, the only reason why anything actually goes well at all is because when we're talking about the conflict between good and evil, or God and Satan, is that you have the evil forces operating, and you have the forces of good operating. And after the fall, right, the fall of mankind, we placed ourselves under the influence and the authority of the darkness. So we are dark wolves. It's not that there's a light wolf and a dark wolf inside us battling. So we are dark wolves. That is what we are. And it's up to us, and this is why spirituality in Christianity is so important, is because the only thing to do with this dark wolf is to kill it. Right? It's not even because the philosophy of which wolf survives, well, the one you feed, and the other one will just sort of whimper away, right, and die of neglect. That is just, if you believe that that's what evil is like, then you've got no idea, right? Evil doesn't just give up. Good does, right? There are more cowards in the camp of good than there are in the camp of evil, right? That is just not. That's just not what evil is like. Evil is rabid. It's got no ethic. It's not gonna die on its own just through neglect, whimpering in a corner. Come on, right? Do you think Stalin? I mean, if that was the case, how do you think? I mean, just ignoring it. I mean, there's a proverb also that says, the only thing that evil requires in order to prevail is for good people to do nothing. Right? And that's the philosophy, and that's the stupid philosophy that people have. Well, if I ignore it, if I ignore that dark wolf over there snarling at me, it's just gonna go away. No, it's not what they do. Okay? At all. It's just it's delusional. It's delusional. Again, it's this new age mentality that there is this wolf of light. No, you are only dark wolf. You are dark wolf. That is it, and you've got to kill it. That wolf needs to die. But then, well, means you're gonna die. But then here's where the Christian philosophy or the Christian thing comes in. When we go to baptism is a symbolic representation of the dark wolf dying. You're killing off the dark wolf, and you become something new. The basic premise of Christianity is that Christ died, right, in order that you can be forgiven, so that when the dark wolf gets eliminated, you as a spiritual, you as an individual don't die along with it. You can be made new. You can become a white wolf. But you're not a white wolf yet, and no part of you is a white wolf yet. And that's where And that's how the philosophy, as best as I can try and illustrate it, that's the general Christian view. Why there's a death and rebirth sort of thing. Why when you're born again, right? White wolf is something you have to become. It's not like there's two parts in you warring for supremacy. That's not it. It's not it at all. And you can become born again. You can become a white wolf. And the only thing that will sustain it is if you have a proper spiritual, a proper faith, a proper spiritual life, and the Holy Spirit, and you become like Christ. The Holy Spirit is in you, and the Holy Spirit does a good thing in you, and that new spirit, right? It's like the white wolf, the new thing. You become a new thing, and that's then what exists from that point onwards. And why, when you look at Revelation, because, and we've just had Easter, so this is actually, maybe slightly late, but Easter, it's Christ resurrected bodily. You will be resurrected bodily, but you'll be given a new body, and this is very, very important, right? Because in spiritualism, there's no bodily resurrection. You're just a spirit floating around somewhere in the ether. Not in Christianity. You are intimately connected with your body. There's no the body and the spirit. It's all in one thing, right? So if you die, that's it, right? And so when there's a resurrection, and before we go to heaven, we get given a new body. So this dark wolf that you sort of is you get then transformed. And that is the sort of the most basic way, that without going too technical and all that sort of thing, the most basic way that I can try and put this particular philosophy. And so that's why we need to be careful. And I see Facebook philosophy is just rampant, and you see people post this stuff all the time, and most of it, and it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough, if that's what you want to go for, and if you're not a Christian, fine. I'm not as necessarily concerned about other people as I am for Christians, because Christians should know better. And there's far too much. The Bible says, my people are dying for lack of knowledge. And what's one of the criticisms that atheists give about Christians? They say, well, you people are stupid, you people are ignorant, you're anti-scientific, you're this and this and that. And they're not far from wrong. They're not far from wrong. We have Christianity today is a simplistic, infantile, stupid thing, shadow of its former self, of what it could be. And I mean, the amount of Christians I see sharing philosophies that directly contradict their faith is just unbelievable. And that's because that's what we've been trained in. And I mean, it's no surprise, because even I don't think that you can talk to a single Christian on the planet and say to them, are you sick and tired of the shallow rubbish that is preached in the church week after week? And they'll say, yeah. We long for something deeper, something more meaningful than this shallow nonsense that we constantly get week in, week out in church. It's not a purely atheistic criticism. I don't think I've ever spoken to a Christian that didn't have a problem with that. They're tired of the simplistic, facile, babying, hand-holding preaching, the puerile, sterile preaching that happens all the time. And then that translates into the people. It's like everything we look at is we've got just such a shallow, we don't spend more than 2 seconds analyzing something before think, well, do I actually agree with this? Does this actually fall in line with what I believe? Or am I maybe not, by sharing this, just promoting a completely rubbish philosophy? And the thing is, if you approach a fellow Christian and say, you know what, that's actually not what we believe, that's actually wrong, they'll treat you like you're fanatical and you're paranoid. Not everything has to be a over big discussion. It's like, actually, in some ways, yes, it has to be. It has to be, because that is literally a philosophy that there is something good inherently in human beings, that some part of us is good. And there's nothing in human history that will testify to that at all. There's nothing in human experience that will testify to the fact that there's something inherently good in mankind. That is a purely pagan philosophy, which the secular world has, for all of their hatred of religion, the secular world has imbibed, has taken on board, without even realizing it. It's false religions that believe that. Forgive my audacity, for I know it's not politically correct to say that other religions are false, but I mean, come on, if you become a Buddhist, it's because you're tacitly saying that other religion, it's, if you say I espouse this, it's because the others are wrong. Come on, grow up. And there's nothing wrong with saying that others are wrong. It's part of life, everything you do is a value judgment. This is better than that. Why not? Getting married is a value judgment. It's like, this person is better than everyone else, so I'm going to marry this person. Everything is a value judgment. Come on. I'm going to choose Samsung over Sony. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what should be done. It's what should be done. It's the spirit of free thought, and so on and so forth. But yeah, Christians in general, they've taken on board this yin yang. Some part of me is actually good. Rubbish. And I mean, just look at the Western world today. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? I mean, we had this hippie movement in the 60s. Human beings are essentially good. We can get rid of religion, get rid of all of these oppressive, sexual oppression and whatever stuff. Get rid of it and life is going to be better. Well, is it? Are we happier today, 2018, than we were 50 years ago, 60 years ago? No, we aren't. Not a chance. Not a chance. It's just, and the psychological world, all of the studies, they testify to that. We're not happier, not by a long shot. Western nations are the richest nations in the world, and yet they are the nations which have the highest rates of suicide than all the other nations. I mean, come on. We're not happier. We've done nothing but destroy and erode all of the values that made Western society decent. And we think that we can just throw it all overboard and retain what's good? Not a chance. Not a chance. The reason why Western society became great is because it was built on the Christian assumption that people are inherently bad. And so you've got to set up a system that assumes that people are inherently rubbish. And that's why you have a constitution. Hello, Americans. That's why you have a constitution. America was founded as a republic, not as a democracy. As a republic, you have a constitution. This is what we do, right? And the government's job is to uphold this constitution, right? And why do you think America then, unknowingly to most people, became a democracy? Is because, well, if the majority of the people vote a stupid thing in, well, then that's what comes in. The Constitution be damned, right? The vast majority of the stuff that governments do today just wouldn't happen if people were restricted to upholding the Constitution. And it's the same thing with the Bible. I mean, the model transfers is the same thing with the Bible. The Ten Commandments is the constitution of Christianity. Boom. In 10 points. That's our constitution. Live by that, and that's it. You don't decide what's right or wrong by a democratic vote. It doesn't happen. Yeah, and that's where we are today. Western society is disintegrating around us. Like we said it would happen. The Bible prophesies that. I mean, for those of you that dislike prophecy, hey, sorry, man. It said it would happen. And we'll get into that. It's very, very interesting prophecy. But yeah, none of this is of any surprise. I know it's happened before. It happened to the Israelites several times over. It's going to happen to us. It's like, how often are we going to have to do this over and over again before we learn? How many people have to die? How much misery? You know. But yeah, that's the way it is. Ladies and gentlemen, go and fight that dark wolf, because that dark wolf is you. And that's that. I reckon I'll finish off there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for your patronage. Goodbye and God bless. Subscribe and share, please. That'll be absolutely brilliant. Otherwise, the black wolf is going to come get you. Cheerio.